Hi everyone, my name's Helen and welcome to my channel where I'm on a mission to spread the word of science through the art of makeup. This video is going to be a little bit different than my previous videos where I've been looking at the pigmentation of eyeshadow palettes and their dupes when I tested them in the lab. Today I'm going to look at these three eyeshadows, which are magnetic eyeshadows from Makeup Revolution, and MAC also do a version as well. And we're going to look at the ingredients of these, and I'm going to show you a little experiment to show you what component of these eyeshadows makes them magnetic. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please stay tuned. If anybody has any of these eyeshadows at home, you'll know that when you touch them, they are basically a loose pigment in a pot. The difference here is that when you turn them upside down, and even if you give them a tap, the eyeshadow doesn't fall out and go everywhere. And this is because the eyeshadows are magnetic, and then there is a little magnet in the top of this pot, and that holds the eyeshadow in there. Now, this has two advantages that I can think of. One, these eyeshadows have very few ingredients. They basically have mica, which is like, you can think of it as like the mixing agent of virtually all eyeshadows, sometimes talc's used, and the pigments that you need. So there are none of the binding agents that you need in eyeshadows to press them. So they have very few ingredients. And secondly, a very easy thing to think of, they don't go everywhere. So you don't end up with loose pigment going all over the show when you're using them. I'm always astounded by how strong magnetism is. You notice when I turned this up before and gave it a tap, the eyeshadow doesn't fall out, and that is a tiny magnet in the bottom of this pot, which is strong enough to hold the magnetic eyeshadow in there despite the gravity of the entire earth trying to pull it back down. And so that just shows you how strong magnetism is when you compare it to gravity. The first thing I did in trying to work out what component of these eyeshadows makes them magnetic and why they stick in the pot is look on the Revolution website and look at what the ingredients of these are. So as I said, they have very few ingredients in them. They don't need any of the binding agents which are needed in eyeshadows to press them, and they all have mica in them. They all have red iron oxide, they all have black iron oxide, and some of them, I think it was these two, have tin oxide in them. So because tin oxide is not in every single shade, then we can basically exclude that as being the reason that these are magnetic, because like I know this one only has red iron oxide, black iron oxide and mica, and if it was the tin oxide that made it magnetic, then this one wouldn't stick in the pan. So it must be either the mica, the red iron oxide or the black iron oxide. Now, nerdly, I own quite a few pigments. I've used them in the lab for testing them. And so I did a set of experiments where I tried them all out in here and saw if any of those ingredients stuck to the pan in this little pattern. I took some footage of this experiment and I'm going to insert it here and talk you through what I did and what I found. Okay, so the first thing I did was get my tweezers. I really should have used a spatula, but I couldn't find it and tweezers were the next best thing. And so I stuck the spatula into the eyeshadow and tried to get out as much of the eyeshadow as possible. Now, I found that I could really feel the force of the eyeshadow being attracted to the magnet. I was really quite surprised about this. I wasn't expecting it to feel quite as firm as it did, and it was really difficult to get all of the eyeshadow out. I mean, I'll speed this a little bit up, but it took me quite a few minutes to get out as much as I possibly could. So I got fed up of trying to scratch it out and I washed it, and so you can see that it really is a flat bottom. Because I've got all of the eyeshadow out, you can't see the lines of the magnetic field where the powder is sticking to it. The little black bit in the bottom, that just looks like it's a bit of glue. But I was pleased. It looks as I thought it would look, and the magnet must be in the bottom. So now I've got the 3 different ingredients. I've got mica, red iron oxide and black iron oxide. I'm going to put a little bit of these in each pot one by one and see which ones of them are magnetic. Okay, so I've got a bit of kitchen towel and I'm going to put a small amount of the mica with my tweezers, aka my spatula, and put a bit of mica into the pot. Apologies, in a second I'm going to show you my really dirty hands, and I had a bit of a pigment explosion, so the black iron oxide went everywhere earlier in the day. That's why my hands look so dirty in this demo. Going to give it a good chance, give it a good tap, see if the powder will align itself with the magnetic field, but you can see it's totally flat. It doesn't look anything like the rippled surface of the eyeshadows, which you can see there in the bottom left of your screen. It's totally flat. Then I'm going to turn it upside down and give it a tap. You saw earlier that the eyeshadow doesn't fall out when you do that, but when you turn the mica upside down in the pot, it just falls out, and so the mica is not magnetic and it is not responsible for keeping the eyeshadow in the pot. So then I gave the pot a clean again, and I went with the orange iron oxide. Now, I was pretty sure before I started that the mica was not going to be the magnetic component. I thought it would be either the red or the black iron oxide. So I'm just using my spatula and putting it in again. But you can see again, the red iron oxide doesn't react to the magnetic field either. Gonna give it a tap again, no reaction, and then I think I pick it up and turn it over again just to confirm to myself that it's not the magnetic component. Yeah, you see it falls straight out. So it's not the mica and it's not the red iron oxide. So I only had one more ingredient that it could be. I was pretty confident that it was going to be the black iron oxide, and we'll just see. And I think that at this point I could just about see it, but it's not very clear on the camera. Yeah, you can just about see a little line in the top left. So I'm going to give it a bit of a tap. Just pointing out that little ridge. You see it's not going flat like the other ones did. Just going to see if I can put a little bit more in to see if it will show you it a bit better. I think it's because it's the black pigment, there's not really much contrast, so it's very difficult for you guys to see on camera. And when I put my tweezers in, I could really feel that force that I could feel when I was getting the eyeshadow out of the pot. I can feel it being attracted to the magnetic field. And I'm just bringing it to camera just to try and get it into focus so that you could hopefully see. Oh, there you can see it right there. You can just about see the ridges, but I think because it's a black powder, it's a lot more difficult. Sorry about my really dirty hands. And when I turn it upside down, none of the powder came out. So the magnet that's inside this pot is sufficient to hold the black iron oxide in. So the last thing I wanted to do was just reunite the copper eyeshadow with its pot. And I just wanted to show you this because I was really, you know, like, it took the shape of the magnetic field so quickly. You can see I barely even just poured it in. And I think that you can see it better because of, one, the contrast of the different colours, and two, because there is mica in there, which is quite shiny, so it will catch the light at different angles. But also it's probably just much more finely ground than the pigments that I had. And I just thought it looked really pretty, and I thought you might want to see it. So there it is, the eyeshadow reunited with its pot. So what we found out from doing that little demo is that it's not the mica, it's not the red iron oxide, but it's the black iron oxide which makes these eyeshadows magnetic. And this makes total sense for two reasons. After I'd done this, I did a little bit of Googling and found out that black iron oxide is I think it was 1,000,000 times more magnetic than red iron oxide. So that makes sense, but also even from something that if you weren't a scientist, you could work out yourself. All of these colors are like very dark colors, aren't they? Like, and this is true for the ones that MAC make as well. Now, the reason that they've got to be dark colors is because they've got to have enough black iron oxide in them for them to be magnetic enough to stay in these pots. So I hope you enjoyed that. I know it wasn't results about eyeshadow. I do have more of those videos to come, but I thought that this was fun. It was something that I could show you, and it would be something that you guys could try at home as well. I also have some other ideas about videos to do that are similar to this, so like a demo of the dye that makes lipsticks change colour, and also maybe a little demo of how to make carmine, the pigment that's made from crushed up bugs. So if you like the idea of either of those videos, let me know down below. If there's anything else that you want me to demo, then also let me know down below as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!